Greetings, my dear viewer. This is a channel about marital infidelity and about the consequences if one spouse starts to cheat on the other. If you, as well as I do, support true family values and condemn cheating, then subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Let's get started. Kevin was a man defined by quiet resolve. His story began in a humble town, where, at just 18 years old, he used the modest savings he'd earned working alongside his uncle to launch a small auto repair shop. Though he lacked formal education, Kevin's dedication and exceptional talent set him apart. Over time, his modest enterprise grew into a successful business that catered to everything from luxury vehicles to routine car repairs. Outwardly, Kevin seemed to have crafted an idyllic life. His tireless efforts had afforded him a stable and fulfilling existence, but his greatest pride was his family. At the center of Kevin's universe was his wife Avery, whom he had met at a local car show. At the time, she was a driven law student with a bright future ahead. From their first meeting, Kevin was drawn to her. Avery embodied everything Kevin admired. She was smart, ambitious, and fiercely self-reliant. Their relationship quickly blossomed into a whirlwind romance. Within a year, they were married, and soon after, they welcomed 2 children into their lives. Their eldest, Sarah, was now pursuing a degree in business, while Jason, their youngest, was chasing his dreams as a musician in a local rock band. For 25 years, Kevin had been the bedrock of his family, steady, selfless, and deeply committed. He never sought recognition, preferring to let his actions speak for his devotion. Kevin found contentment in the simplicity of his life, running his business in the same town where it all began. Avery, however, had changed over the years. She had earned her law degree, climbed the ladder at a prestigious firm, and fully embraced the demands of her high-powered career. At first, Kevin admired her drive, but subtle shifts in their relationship began to emerge. Initially, the changes were easy to overlook: longer hours at the office, weekend work trips, and less time spent at home. Kevin, understanding her ambitions, didn't complain, but as the months passed, her growing distance and preoccupation became impossible to ignore. Then came the arrival of Avery's new boss. Although she rarely mentioned him, Kevin couldn't help but notice the clues: extended workdays, overly courteous text messages, and vague explanations about her schedule. Something felt off. Trusting his intuition, Kevin started paying closer attention. One evening, unable to hold back any longer, he confronted her after finishing his shift at the garage. "We need to talk," he said firmly, his voice calm but unwavering. "Why are you working late so often? We used to have dinner together every night, and now I can't even remember the last time we sat down as a family." Caught off guard, Avery hesitated. Her usual justifications felt hollow under Kevin's piercing gaze. "It's just work," she said weakly. "Things have been really hectic." Kevin wasn't satisfied. "I know what hard work looks like, Avery. I've spent my life building something from nothing, but this isn't just about your career, is it? I've seen the messages, the late-night calls. Who's texting you at 2 in the morning? Her composure faltered, and guilt flickered across her face. I can explain," she began, but Kevin cut her off. "Then explain," he demanded, "because I'm done pretending nothing's wrong." Reluctantly, Avery confessed. "It's Nicholas, my boss. We've grown close because of work, but it's not what you think. It's complicated." Her words confirmed Kevin's worst fears. "Complicated?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We've been married for 25 years, Avery. I know when something's wrong. This isn't just work." Tears filled Avery's eyes as she broke down. "I never meant for this to happen. Nicholas makes me feel important in a way I haven't felt in years. He listens to me. He sees me." Kevin felt as though the world had been ripped out from under him. "So that's it?" he asked, his voice heavy with pain. "Everything we've built means nothing to you?" Avery's silence was deafening. When she finally spoke, her admission, that she felt unfulfilled and wanted something more, was like a dagger to Kevin's heart. He stood there, motionless, struggling to process the weight of her words. In the weeks that followed, their home was suffused with tension. Avery's absences became more frequent, and her indifference more pronounced. Kevin wrestled with a maelstrom of emotions, rage, heartbreak, and a profound sense of betrayal. It felt as though the life he had built was crumbling around him. Despite his anguish, Kevin chose not to act impulsively. He sought refuge in his garage, the one place where he still felt in control. But this time, his work wasn't just about fixing cars. Beneath the surface, his thoughts grew darker, consumed by a desire for retribution, not impulsive revenge, but something deliberate and calculated. As Avery continued to drift further away, her nights increasingly spent with work or with Nicholas, Kevin made a decision. He wouldn't let her dismantle the life they had built without facing the consequences. His love for her still lingered, but it was now overshadowed by a cold determination. Avery may have moved on, but Kevin wasn't ready to relinquish the life they had shared, or the man he had become. Not this time. Kevin had crafted a plan, and this time it would be Avery who would beg for understanding. She needed to confront the weight of her actions, to grasp the ripple effects of her betrayal. On a Thursday evening, Kevin set his strategy in motion. He had spent weeks meticulously orchestrating every element, preparing for the moment when he would finally take control. Kevin knew exactly how to proceed. His garage, a business he had built from the ground up, symbolized more than just income. It was his independence, his hard work, and his pride. Now, it would become the linchpin in his campaign against Avery. The changes started subtly, almost invisibly. He replaced the locks on the house, canceled her credit cards, and began to slowly strip away the conveniences she had always taken for granted. At first, Avery remained oblivious. Preoccupied with her affair and her new life with Nicholas, she failed to notice the ground shifting beneath her feet. The confrontation Kevin had planned arrived sooner than she anticipated. Late one evening, after yet another excuse about long hours at work, Avery walked through the door to find Kevin waiting in the living room. His expression was inscrutable. He had already begun dismantling her life piece by piece, but tonight would mark the decisive turning point. "Avery," Kevin began, his tone calm but razor-sharp. "Do you even realize what you've done? Do you think you can abandon this marriage, toss aside everything we've built together, and run off with Nicholas without facing the consequences? You're wrong." Avery crossed her arms defensively. "I've made it clear, Kevin. I'm done with this. I don't need this life, and I don't need you." Kevin's gaze hardened. "You may think you've moved on, but you're still living in a world where you assume you can take what you want and leave nothing but ruin behind. That stops here. You're not walking away with the years of my loyalty, my hard work, or everything I've sacrificed for you." The air in the room grew dense with tension. For the first time, Avery's confidence faltered. Kevin was no longer the man pleading for answers or reconciliation. His demeanor had transformed into something cold, methodical, and unyielding. "Kevin," Avery began, her voice tinged with uncertainty, "I don't want to fight. I've made my choice. I'm with Nicholas now." Kevin took a step closer, his presence looming like a thundercloud. "This isn't a fight, Avery. This is what you've earned." With deliberate precision, Kevin handed her the divorce papers. But this wasn't a simple legal document. It was the culmination of his plan. He had worked tirelessly with his lawyers, ensuring that every clause left Avery with nothing but the bare essentials. The house, the assets, the lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to, all stripped away. "Here's how this plays out," Kevin explained, his tone icy. "You want freedom? Fine. But it comes at a price. The garage, mine. The house, mine. The money, you won't see a cent of it. You can keep your jewelry, but that's it. And as for Nicholas, he'll find out what happens when he crosses me." Avery's face paled as the reality sank in. You can't do this. You can't take everything from me. Kevin's lips curled into a faint, humorless smile. I already have. Your accounts are frozen, your cards are canceled, and the house is in my name. You're free to leave, but you'll do so with nothing. That's the price of betrayal. Stunned, Avery's voice trembled. You're out of your mind. This isn't right. Kevin's expression remained unmoved. Right? I gave you 25 years of my life. I built a life for us while you threw it all away. You don't get to walk out unscathed. Actions have consequences, and now you're facing yours. His words hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and unrelenting. Avery stood frozen, absorbing the full impact of Kevin's calculated retribution. She had underestimated him, assuming she could leave him behind without repercussions. She had been wrong. The days that followed were a blur of legal battles and desperate phone calls to her attorney. But Kevin had been thorough, leaving no loophole for Avery to exploit. She was left with nothing but the clothes on her back. Meanwhile, Kevin made good on his promise. He contacted Nicholas directly, delivering a stern warning. The fallout was swift and devastating. Kevin, leveraging his business acumen, quietly dismantled Nicholas's life. Legal issues mounted, his business ventures failed, and his reputation crumbled. Avery could only watch as her carefully constructed new life disintegrated before her eyes. She had believed she could trade Kevin's loyalty for something better, but now she was left to confront the wreckage of her choices. Kevin, however, felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. His revenge had been precise and unrelenting, leaving Avery with nothing but regret. Yet as Kevin stood in his garage, surrounded by the fruits of his labor, a lingering emptiness remained. His actions had restored balance and reclaimed his life, but they couldn't erase the void left by the woman he had once loved. Still, he took solace in the knowledge that he had taken back control. The betrayal no longer defined him, and as the weeks turned into months, Kevin moved forward, leaving the past firmly in his rearview mirror. My friend, and this is the end of the story. If you liked this story, then put your royal like and subscribe to the channel. May the force be with you.